Giva Cordia. Hi, everyone. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is Fireside Chat 135, where I am in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I start our chat with a prayer for peace. Gomara Shiakon fud na crinne. Gomara Shiakon in our Jaili agus in our Jirha. Gunairi Lin len our Kij Garmaka. Gamwich Buichas Jiv, Quivdaka is spirit Quivdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their hearts the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So lovely to see you all, and from West Yorkshire, London, Hertfordshire, Wyoming, and sunny Wyoming. Look at you. It's very, very dull here in Kilkenny. It was bright and frosty last week, but today very, very dull. And it's Burns Night, and so happy Burns Night to all of you who celebrated. I see from the comments somebody's cooking haggis. I do like haggis. It's not for everybody, but I do enjoy it. I used to have it with my husband Howard with tatties and neeps, but that's a long time ago. Anyway, Karen from the damp New Forest, upstate New York, lovely. Oxford, Wisconsin, cold. Okay. Idaho, Belgium, Newcastle. Just lovely to see all these people here. So we are going, may haggis fill your kites. Thank Nimi. Geraldine in beautiful Colorado, Montana. Okay. So we're going to Germany, to a place called Kaiserslautern. That's my Irish accent. So let me welcome Jess Wolf Fillmore. And you'll know from Jess's accent, if you can hear, that she's not German. But anyway, you're very, very welcome to this Fireside Chat.
Thank you for having me.
So why are you where you are, and what brings you there?
So I am in Germany because I am in the United States Air Force, so I am stationed here. So that's what brings me here. I've been here for a little over 2.5 years. It's supposed to be 3 years total, and then I'll be moving back to the States this summer.
Okay, so what's it like, your landscape? So where is Kaiserslautern? Where is it?
So we are near Frankfurt. Frankfurt's like an hour-ish away. And it's pretty wet this time of year. We're in the southwest-ish kind of area of Germany, very close to France. And I wish we had more snow, but lately it's just been kind of wet and dreary. The Christmas time is really nice because there's like Christmas markets, but as soon as Christmas is over, it is just dark and dreary. But yeah, it's nice living here though. We're gonna miss Europe.
Oh, okay. So where are you from in the US then?
I am from Arizona, so completely opposite end of the weather spectrum. Right. So I grew up in, beautiful desert landscapes. I loved where I lived. That's where I discovered a lot of what I do on my path. So I don't hate it. I love it. I miss my home. But yeah, the desert is where I call home.
Right, Taimi, who's in Finland, she is a former. She just says hello to Kaiserslautern from a former Frankfurt resident. Anyway,
Ah, yes.
so 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 Arizona is desert. I'm a tree person. I've lived in deserts uh, in the north of Kenya, and I crave trees. So, what's your tree life? What's the tree life like in Arizona?
There's actually a lot of trees where I was growing up. I grew up near the Mexican border, and we have this river, or used to have a river, when I was growing up there. And there were a lot of trees along that river, and every now and then it would dry up. Now it's pretty dry. We have mesquite trees that you might be familiar with, and those were used a lot in like barbecues. That's my cat. Barbecues and stuff like that, and for carne asada. But I think the trees are lovely, and I don't know what kind of trees they were, but there were these tall ones near the river as well, and they would change with the seasons. So it wasn't lacking in trees at all. And then, of course, I mean, I don't know if I would count it as, well, maybe I do count it as a tree, but all the cacti that are there, the most famous part of the landscape would be the saguaro cactus, so the big ones with the arms and stuff.
Yeah.
They're all over the place in that elevation. So I think that I consider those trees.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. Nimi says meow to Jess's cats from her cats. So
she's probably going to say meow back at some point.
And Mike, who lives in Utah, used to live in Arizona for a while. Anyway, so he likes trees too. So a juniper and cypress in Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we have a lot of those. Actually, when I went down to Tuscany recently, I noticed a lot of the trees looked very similar to what we have in Arizona. So it's kind of like a temperate, mild climate where I was growing up. And yeah, lots of cypress trees and juniper trees as well.
Okay, wonderful. Now, there's a question here from Sean McCann, who is in Canada. I'd be curious to hear what practice or inspiration from the German landscape you'll take home with you to Arizona, and what practice from Arizona found new soil or growth in Germany?
Oh, wow.
There's two parts to that.
Those are good questions. Yeah, so what will I be taking with me? Honestly, I've been doing a lot of exploring here, so a lot more of looking in a little bit deeper in my practices. There's woods right behind my house here. So I've been walking in there sometimes and just getting more in touch with like actual trees, big trees, being surrounded by trees, being part of a 4-season landscape. So this is a place that actually has snowdrops, and I never really saw snowdrops that much. I mean, we saw them in Ohio, but they're everywhere here in February. And I feel like just like the wheel of the year is just smack dab in the middle of everything here. Finding more herbal remedies and local folklore was a big part of my practice as well. So like, we'll be cooking and I'll be like, well, I'm just going to pop outside and get some chives real quick. So a lot of herbal things, a lot of living with the seasons, which I really try to do in the States, but it is so easy to fall into the trap of like, just go to the supermarket and get whatever you want. Whereas here, it's part of the culture to be with the seasons. Like, oh, you want this pineapple or whatever it is, they're like, it's not the season for that, because it's Germany. So it's very obvious to them. Pineapple's not a good example of that, but let's see, what was the second part of that question? It was
what practice from Arizona found, I like the way he asked the question, new soil or growth in Germany?
Yeah, so a lot of what I did in Arizona was a lot of foundational work. So I was just barely learning everything. I turned to my path when I was like 13, and I tried to find as many books as I can get my hands on while being in the closet about it. So a lot of what I found personally without a book was just going out and just being part of I guess the vibe of a place, the energy of a place. So anywhere I go, because I move so much, anywhere I go, I just kind of try to, I guess in a way, introduce myself to that place and let it introduce itself to me. We're kind of like, hey, how's it going? You know, shake hands, whatever. And I think that I take that with me everywhere I go. So, and every time I go back home, it's just like meeting, you know, family with that vibe. It's just like, oh, I know you. This is the embrace that I used to know. So yeah, I think that's the biggest part of what I take with me.
So you engage with, say, the genius loci, the spirit of the place, wherever you go. So for you, because I mean, it'll be different for everybody. So when you think of the genius loci in, well, the last place you lived in Arizona, I don't know if you're going back to your hometown or not, or to where you lived before, and how that manifests for you and compares to the genius loci of where you are now. Do you have a sense of how similar they are or how different they are?
Well, they're very, very different. I will say that I had a very strange experience when I got here. I went over to the woods and I just was walking for a little bit. No earphones or anything in. I just was walking, and then everything just stopped. And that, to me, I'm always like, man, when everything stops in the woods, it's like the scariest thing. Like, what's going on? Maybe it was just me, you know, I'm the predator, but like everything just went quiet. The birds, the wind, and I was just kind of like, and I felt like I was just kind of being watched. And then just after a minute or so, it was fine. So I described to my friends. I almost felt like that was kind of like a, how you doing? You know, how's it going? The energy, I'm trying to think of how I would describe my home energy. I mean, to me, it's just home, right? It's warm. It's my nest, so to speak. But here, I want to say it's a lot darker, but not darker in like a sinister way. It's just like a dark, ancient something, like something's underneath everything that is very, very old, like older than we think it is. So, and that's maybe that's part of why I've also gotten a lot more into like ancestral work and trying to kind of find how to even start on my like shamanic path, maybe because my grandmother's a shaman. So haven't done a whole lot of work there. I just think that that's where it's kind of pointing me to.
Okay, so where are your people's origins? So where are you from? Or I mean, where are your people from? Maybe you're mixed. I have no idea. But when you talk about, you know, your grandmother, the shaman, so what tradition? Where does that come from?
Yeah, so it's a complicated story. I was adopted when I was a few days old. So I have ancestors from my bloodline, my physical bloodline, and then I have the ancestors on my adoptive bloodline. So on the biological side, I've got all kinds of, I've got like some European ancestry, like French, British, Irish, possibly. I have Filipina in there as well. I did like the ancestry thing too, and it pops up as like Portuguese and Spanish and stuff like that. There's also supposed to be some Native American in there. 23andMe does not have it lined up to that where they can say what tribe or anything that I am. But I did meet my biological family, and my grandmother on that side is the shaman. So she lives in Arizona, and she's still in Tucson. I don't know exactly what path. I think that she draws from local traditions in Arizona, but also because our line is the Lakota Sioux. She probably also draws from that as well. I haven't been able to spend as much time as I want to with her, just like getting to know her over the last 10 or so years, but that's where she draws all that from. And then on my adoptive side, my mom is Costa Rican, and her ancestry is also Spanish with Italian. And then I was adopted by a German father, which was where the wolf comes from. And he left when I was pretty young. And then my stepdad was Mexican and American. So I just was surrounded by all kinds of different languages and cultures, and just I loved it, and I love learning about other cultures as well. So I had so much to draw from.
I just get such a rich tapestry of influences, energies, magic, and it sounds absolutely wonderful to come from all that. Which, looking at those traditions, which jumps out most at you? Which calls to you? I suppose not maybe the loudest or the clearest to you.
So probably the ones I feel like I work with the most are like the Native American, and then a lot of the European stuff I feel in touch with. 23andMe says I have some Irish in there. Before I did all that, I was like, I feel a pull to Ireland. So I love the British Isles. I loved Celtic things. I loved I love everything. I loved a bunch of other cultures I'm not even a part of too, either growing up. So, but I do feel a big pull to like, what am I connected to? What are my threads, connected to, biologically and even culturally. I've thought about getting more into like the Filipino thing, because that is a mystery to me. I'm just like, I know there's magic there. I know there's like a tradition there, a whole other culture before the Spaniards showed up, kind of thing. So I do want to dive into that later on.
Geraldine says it all shines in you. Spectacular. I mean, I think she's referring to all of this melting pot of wonder and magic and diversity. Yes. Taimee has a question for you. Did you feel spiritually the coming to the old world when you came to Germany? She says, I felt this arriving in the new world when I arrived in Canada, and also felt that I do not belong there, although I have a deep affinity for the native indigenous people and their ancient culture.
That's very interesting. Yes, I think it's hard to say that definitive, objectively, because you show up and there's just castles everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't have castles. We had some ruins where I grew up, which I loved. I would just go digging and find stuff. But, you come here and they're casually like, yeah, there's a castle on the hill. It's from 1500 or whatever. I mean, and that's pretty recent compared to other stuff. And the Romans were here. Like, it is absolutely completely different feeling from the States. So, yes, I agree.
Okay. So, and because I live in a place called Three Castles, and there are three castles. I'm in one now, and sorry, on the outside it looks like a house, by the way, but this room and the next to it was originally a tower house, and the house was built in 1790 around it. And then I have another tower house, which was a church.
Wow.
Or a dwelling attached with a chapel attached. It's still there. And then the third castle, which would have been the main one, is no longer there. It was a Norman. There's a Mott and Bailey there, and there would have been a Norman. So I'm always interested about old. I find everything old, or because it's like Ireland here is so old.
Yes.
And in the US, I don't know if I felt it new. But I haven't been in rural US. I've only been in the cities. I've been to Boston, I've been to San Francisco, I've been to New York. I haven't gone out to get a sense of, the wilderness or the wildness outside, what did we call it? Urban areas type of thing.
Right, yeah.
Wonderful. So tell me, what you mentioned your early path, being in the closet, trying to consume as many books. Liz, I don't actually live in a castle. It's a castle on the inside. It looks like an ordinary house. Very hard to keep clean, by the way. Full of spiders and cobwebs and magic and all sorts of that, and spirits. But it looks like a house on the outside. But yes, just it was built around a house, around a castle. Pat and I were in New Orleans at the Gulf Coast Gathering in 2019. She was there again in 2023. I felt the bayou was ancient and the alligators were like dinosaurs. Yes, they were. Of course,
yes,
alligators there. That is so true. The boondocks, Karen. That's right. I was trying to think of a word. I don't know if that's a derogatory word. Anyway, Gabriella says all land is old. Political states may be new, but earth, water, there. That is so true. But I don't know if you're in an old place. There's sometimes you'll often hear people talk, they meet a baby for the first time and they go, an old soul.
Yeah.
And they have some sense. You know, my mother, who isn't great into reincarnation, would say, "Oh, that child has been here before." Says that and has a sense of this. But, and I think sometimes the ancientness in places is often that there are old footprints from ancient peoples. You know, yes, Eimear said lots of ancient civilization in the Americas. Absolutely. I'm just saying I haven't been out there to visit those places.
Right.
I mean, somebody says, here's the stone, it's very old. And I go, but aren't all stones old? I don't know. We're talking about perception here. We're not talking about facts. We're talking about a sense that you have. You know, America's a new country, and yet there have been people living there for so long. Maybe the modern America is a new country. I don't know. But so yes, to get back to your being in your closet.
Yes.
So, what closet was that in? I mean, what was in your closet? Just
yeah. So, I grew up Roman Catholic and Lutheran. I mean, we kind of jumped around and stuff, but I was actually, as a lot of these things happen, you know, you're in a sleepover and people are like, want to play with a Ouija board, you know, or something like that. And then the internet was still pretty new. I mean, this was in late 90s or so. And, you know, America Online was a new thing, and you can like look for things and see what's going on. And I was like, well, let's look up witchcraft. And, you know, you find out that there's people practicing different things, and that's how I like discovered, you know, Wicca. And I'm like, wow, what is this? And I have always been a voracious reader, a voracious, like, you know, consumer of knowledge. So I'm like, man, there's this whole other world I didn't know about. And so as much as I could, I would try to find websites, you know, that had these things. And so there was this one website that had all the Wicca stuff. It had the Wheel of the Year. It had all the tools that you need. So I would kind of improvise. And, you know, I had this little table in my room, and I would find incense. I was lucky that I lived in a small village, that there were some hippies there. I suspect there were pagans there. But as a young underage person, I couldn't just run around and look for adults to like cling to. So some of the stores in there, you know, I would just go and walk there by myself, and I had my little hard-earned paycheck from my coffee shop job, and I would just pick up like incense or stones or like candles, and I would just work minimally with what I had. I even had a little leather opener as my athame and stuff like that. And I made my own wand after a while, and I still have that wand. So my parents just kind of thought, you know, oh, she's kind of weird, but it's okay. You know, she's not hurting anybody. My mom would get a little worried here and there and wonder what I'm doing, but it didn't seem to bother her. They saw me get into the tarot cards, and they were like, well, maybe you can do readings for us. So
wow.
It wasn't really non-supportive.
That you had that.
Yes.
Because I know, when was it, Pope Benedict? How many popes ago was that? 2 popes.
Yes.
He made a list of, I don't know, 700 sins or something, and tarot was one of them, along with Reiki and lots of other things, as in evading tax and all that. But it's really interesting that your parents were, you know, permissive around allowing you explore that and not panicking. Brilliant. Yeah.
Yes. It was good. My dad kind of just like laughed it off, you know, but my my mom would be like, "Oh, do a reading for me." And even before this time, when I really dove into it as a kid, I would randomly find a book and be like, "Oh, palm reading." Like I would start reading people's palms and talk about people's auras, and my mom would just be like, so yeah, it was very interesting. I'm glad they were. I don't think that they knew that I didn't want to be Christian anymore, but they were supportive either way of me exploring and trying to figure out what that was about. So,
well, Pat Booker, who's in Ulster, my religious workmates who disapprove of me and clutch their holy texts sometimes sidle up and ask for readings when no one can hear. And that's always interesting. And Jamie Morgan, stop bragging. I bet I could check off a lot of that 700 list.
well, I've already got 2 so far, so.
Dex, is that, I mean, I started Christopher Hughes. He taught me how to read tarot in an hour and a half in the summer, and I've lots of decks because I love the pictures. And
yes.
now I'm able to. I'm not proficient, but I'm excited about having door open so I can do a little bit of reading.
Yeah.
But the Ouija boards, I mean, I'd never have done anything like that. Would have scared the hell out of me. I
don't touch them anymore.
And Fergie, so somebody said you need to be really careful. Fergie, it was originally a parlor board game in the late 19th century, and it only became associated with the occult when the spiritualist movement adopted for divination and seance use in the late Edwardian era. Wow, that is very modern. That's very recent. Wonderful. And then there's a picture of John Paul II with Tom Berg's Meditations on the Tarot on his desk, and the intro was written by Cardinal von Balthasar. Catholicism is a widely diverse realm at times. Sean would know. Very interesting. And I know of priests who've been actually developing a Christian tarot. So
interesting.
Fascinating. Great. Brilliant. Anyway, there's a lot of people who kind of signing up for those 700 sins. It's just so anyway, continue with your story. How did you find Druidry, and how did you find Obod?
So let's see. I kept going with my path. It was I decided to get real serious with it. So I did the whole, like, at 13 I started studying, and I did the whole year and a day. And then I didn't have anyone to initiate me, so to speak. So I was like, well, I'll just do a ceremony. So at 14, that's when that happened. And then 4 years later, I joined the Air Force. So, and the military is actually really supportive. There's a whole group, even in basic training, that gathered together, and that was nice. So I kind of just went where the path led me and went on my career and went to Korea, went to Maryland and stuff, and found a lot of people. There's people that I've made friends with over the years that I'm still very close with. And during my time in Korea, I had gone, it was really weird because we didn't go anywhere in Asia. We were just going to be like different from everyone else. And me and my boyfriend at the time were like, let's go to Ireland. So we packed our bags, went to Ireland. This was in 2008. 8 or 9 or something. And I went, we went all over the place. It was just kind of like a not planned trip. We would just like go to one place, look up on the new Wi-Fi technology, and look for a place to stay the next day, and then just get there, through public transport, which is amazing in Ireland, by the way. Like getting on a bus, getting on a train, you can just get anywhere.
You're the only one who thinks that, by the way. Anyway, continue.
Well, compared to like Arizona, where we have nothing, relatively good. Yeah. So yeah, we stayed in like Southern Ireland, so like Cork, Kilkenny. We went all over the place. And in one of the, I don't remember where it was, must have been Dublin or something. We popped into a bookstore, and I saw the Book of English Magic by Philip Cargom, and I was like, oh, that looks like a cool book. It was hardcover. It looked all cool. I was like, I'm going to take this and read it. And I just like devoured it the whole trip. And then I found the Druid cast, the Druid podcast. And then I listened to it on the way back to Korea. And I will never forget that first episode that Dave does, where he talks about the Wheel of the Year. And I was just immediately sucked in. I was like, I love this so much. Like, this is great. I feel so connected to it. So it was after that I found that there was a whole order and that you can do like classes and stuff. So I was like, oh man, sign me up. I wasn't making as much money back then, but I was like, I will pay. I will get all these CDs in the mail and I'm going to like listen to them. And then I kind of dropped off. so I lost some CDs over the years, but thankfully finally OBOD put it online, so I can just do it online now. But it started then. And I mean, I'm sure you can remember at the winter gathering this past winter where I was like, oh my God, it's just this thing like coming to life 15 years later to me, like there's Philip and there's Dave. And I'm just like, this is it, it's for real now. But yeah, that's how I came in contact with with OBOD. And I also had a good friend in Korea. He's a Druid, and so he was familiar with OBOD as well. And I always called him my oak tree because he just reminds me of an oak tree. So yeah.
So do you so you've been a member of a seed group or a grove in the various places you've been, or?
No, I haven't found one yet. I don't know if it's just kind of circumstances or I'm always busy. I'm always running around, and then I haven't been able to really find one. I know there's supposed to be one in Ohio where I'm trying to go back, and maybe I can get more involved. I also feel like I can put more energy into being involved and being part of my community when I retire, and hopefully that's after this next assignment. So like in 4 years, I can retire and just be done. Yes.
You joined the Air Force at 18?
Yes.
That's so young.
In 2004.
So when can you, after how many years can you retire?
You can retire after 20 years. And I took a few years break to go to college and then come back as an officer. So that's why the math doesn't quite add up, but I'm almost there. I'm almost at 20 years.
Now, Sean McCann from Canada again, left field question perhaps. Does your national service / secular vocation and your spirituality inform or contextualize each other?
So this is an interesting question that actually I was thinking about earlier, because we kind of did a rundown yesterday, and I was like, how does my current path connect with my career right now? And there are days where I struggle with that, where I'm like, there's war, there's terrible things that have to be done, or you think have to be done. I speak from like myself, my own opinions, not the Air Force's opinion, but sometimes you wonder if you agree with what you're doing, and you can struggle with that a little bit. And that's why I've also been kind of doing more Norse paganism study right now, because I feel like that kind of marries them both a little bit, where you have that warrior culture, and I don't know. I think I don't have an answer really yet, because I'm still trying to figure it out, even though I'm almost at the end of it. I think that I'm trying to find a way to have a paycheck forever, which is what happens when I retire. I can just have a bit smaller, but I get money forever. And then I can just do what my soul wants me to do, which is like write or create or be part of my community and stuff like that. But as I move along each assignment and each job, I also think of it as like, I'm here. I might have a purpose here with the people that I interact with. And when somebody needs help, I try to help them, or I try to push them through challenges. And then I see the challenges I'm faced with, and I try to grow as a person as I'm faced with those challenges. So I think of it as like an obstacle course, maybe. I don't know if that sounds bad, but like, this is a way for me to be stronger, be more assertive, and come out at the end of it ready to do what I'm truly meant to do, maybe. I'm still figuring it out.
Okay. Just by the way, Jamie Morgan says, I'm from Eastern Ohio. I have no idea how big Ohio is. Not aware of an OBOD seed group here, but feel free to reach out when you make it over here. And I know Jamie, she's lovely. So very nice. So, so what is it your soul wants to write? Does your soul want to write? And what do you want to write? What do you want to write about?
I've always liked fiction. I've always loved stories. And then maybe that's where the bardic stuff kind of comes in, where I want to tell a story, but I want to do it through the written word. I loved books growing up. I lived in those worlds, and maybe escaped into them a little too much sometimes. But I love story. I even love video games and other types and mediums of story. So I think that I just want to, I guess, set the stories free. I've had stories within me where I'm just kind of like, oh, not yet. I don't have time. I'm trying to pay bills right now and figure things out. But I don't remember what author it was. Somebody had said that it's almost like you have all these stories inside you and you have to just like let them free. And I try to fight my practicality mindset where it's like, well, where's the stories going to go? Who's going to read it anyway? And, are you going to make any money off of this? Where I'm trying to push all those thoughts aside and be like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to write for the sake of writing. It doesn't matter if only one person, buys that story or book or whatever. I just need to do it. So that's where I'm going to follow after my retirement.
Okay. I'm just groups I think, sorry, apologies for that. I almost obliterated you. Groups at druidry.org. I hope that's it, Pat. Just for, somebody's just asked me this. If you want to set up a lot of people now are setting up virtual seed groups.
Okay.
So that's for everybody. So that's for people. So thank you. That's Gabriella. That's for you. You were asking about. So Jules says, yes, write and then write some more. It brings such joy to the spirit. Absolutely.
Yes.
So wonderful.
Thank you.
So you mentioned challenge, because I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile, working in the Air Force and being a druid, which is around peacemaking, peacekeeping, etc., etc. How do you navigate between the two? And you mentioned challenge. So how do you meet that challenge? And have you overcome it? Or how do you do it within yourself? I mean,
I don't think that I will ever be done facing challenges. There will always be something, because I think that I remember you saying, Eimear, that you used to be painfully shy, and that's how I used to be too. I was just like hide behind my mom's leg, and I don't even want to like go take a picture with my dad. I don't know, some kind of social anxiety or something, but you can't really do that. In the military, you have to work together with teams. You have to work with difficult personalities. You have to, especially as an officer, be a leader, and you have to like rally the troops and sometimes be like, all right, guys, we're going to do this. And that's really awkward for someone who is very introverted like me. So I feel like almost every day is like, all right, what's the challenge, right? But the way I deal with it is every day is a new day, right? It's like from beginning to end. Right now I'm on night shift, so this is like my lunchtime. So it's like I'm halfway through today. How did I prepare today? So I have a routine that I try to keep. There's a couple of non-negotiables with that, like journaling. So I get up and I journal with my coffee. And if there's time, I add in yoga, I add in meditation. I also do breathing exercises like breath work. I've been trying to do a cold shower. It doesn't always work out for me. And then there's also, I don't know if you're probably familiar. There was some other book I was reading last year that talked about the vanishing pentagram, and it was just too complicated for me. So I found a YouTube video, and there was this wonderful woman. I forget what her name was, but she had a banishing ceremony, a daily thing that you do, and it was druidic. So you hail all the different elements. You mentioned the salmon and the bear and everything, and it is just wonderful. So if I can, I try to do that every day. Not as like, a paranoid, I'm going to banish all the bad things, bad juju from my space, but also like psychologically, what are the negative thoughts, the negative self-talk that I do to myself to stop myself every day? I want to like just release it. It doesn't serve me. And then, it kind of centers me. So it's a long way of saying, like, I try to just look at every day as by itself. Okay, today I'm going to do this. And it's also how I deal with my ADHD, I think, so that I'm not like all over the place. I just have a structured, like, here's what I need to get done. I'm going to go for a run today. I'm going to do this homework and all this stuff. And then it really helps me feel like I've juiced my day. Like I squeezed everything I can out of it in a good way, not like stressful. So
yeah. Pat says, watch the video for Lily by Kate Bush. That's the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram in pop music and dance. Now, in Druidry, we don't tend to use the word banishing.
yes.
I imagine it's a ritual for protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. So I haven't heard of that. So Pat, I love Kate Bush. I will watch that. Look out for that video. So what has been your greatest achievement, or what has been the things that you're most proud of in your life?
So it took probably an embarrassingly long amount of time, but just a few months ago, I finally finished my first draft of a book that's been poking me since like 2008. So finally finished the draft. I'm editing it now when I can, and I was apprehensive about night shift, but now I feel like I have more time to myself to actually like open up the laptop and make sure it looks not dumb before I send it in for publishing. So most recent accomplishment is that. I mean, I have a few things that I'm proud of. I'm trying to think of which way I want to talk about. But yeah, the most recent thing, I mean, like I said, like that's my biggest path, and my biggest obstacle to that path to writing is myself going like, well, who's going to read your stuff anyway? So like, just go away, voice. I'm going to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that is probably the voice that plagues so many would-be writers and poets. And I think that's, why would I do this? Who'd read it? And is it of any use to anybody? So well done on ignoring that voice.
Thank
you. Doing it anyway. And the worst that can happen is it doesn't get published. And it's not published now, so nothing will have changed.
Yeah.
But if it does, then... And Jules says, that's so awesome. Congratulations. Self-confidence. So what's the most reckless thing you've ever done, apart from joining the Air Force? But anyway.
The most reckless?
Yeah.
Oh God. So I don't know, really, honestly. So I've, like I told you before, I was always pretty shy, but when I guess this is also like informing my childhood, but whenever I did do anything reckless, it was usually guilty by association. It was just, hanging out with a group of friends and, night out on the town or something, being drunk and being crazy. But I don't know if I really have any good stories. There are not any stories I would want on the internet, but
that understood.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think that I would describe myself as reckless. I mean, I'm working on my fear. I am scared of a lot of things that are considered normal to everyday life. Like, for example, I am relearning how to ride a bike, but it is very hard to get me out the door to actually ride a bike because I have like anxiety about it. Because I'm like, what if I crash? What if I'm in people's way? I don't even like roller coaster rides. Like No.
Reckless. I've done things that other people would regard as reckless that weren't reckless. I knew it was the right thing to do, and I'm glad I took that risk.
Yeah.
And then sometimes reckless can be seen as like getting on a bike when you're terrified, because in your head is all the awful things that could happen. That'd be crazy to get up on a bike, when in fact you're doing it, and that's what's interesting. Despite the fear, just getting up on it.
Yes.
Roller coaster. I suppose they have a fairly good safety record. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never been on a roller coaster.
Really? A lot of people would say you're missing out, but I don't think you are.
Well, I don't know if they have them in Ireland. I know there's this thing called Funderland. It used to be in Dublin after Christmas, for 3 weeks or something. And I don't know if they ever had a roller coaster. So I've never been on one. I like things like that.
I did do one thing. Well, I've probably done a few things, because every day there's something that scares me. But like, there was a time in Korea that I assisted some. There are people in the Air Force that specialize in survival, so they teach survival to people, like, out in the woods or what have you. So I assisted these guys to practice rescuing a couple of pilots, and it was at night. So I had to like go and find the pilots and lead them somewhere, and then we had to like wait for the helicopter to come get us. So an HH-60 came down and grabbed us, and we had to get on the helicopter. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want to get on this thing. But it was actually my second time on a helicopter, so I hopped on, and it was a little bit turbulent, which like terrified me, but I was like, I'm on this thing, I can't do anything about it. And then we did a combat landing, which was terrifying, but we made it, and I came out of there like, I did it, I did the things. So probably most adventurous thing I've done.
Oh, well done. Well done. Gabriella says, wishing you the best of luck with your writing, looking forward to buying your book.
Thank you.
Yes. So any regrets?
Oh, many, but I'm happy where I am, if that makes any sense. There aren't any really that I would like to name right now, but I think that I've done what I can to grow through them.
Great.
Through mistakes. We always have mistakes that we make. We're human, and we can regret those things, but I've also learned that wallowing in those things and wallowing in guilt, which thanks Catholicism, I'm always guilty and whatever, it doesn't serve you. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help you grow. You have to accept what you've done and be like, all right, how can I do better? How can I move on? How can I move forward? So, I for sure have regrets, but I like having control over what I do next. So
that's true. And it's about, kind of proactive choices. But if there is a regret, that you make amends in some way, or rather than living with an unamended regret type of thing.
Yes.
What brings you joy?
Coffee, wine, music. Music definitely brings me joy. I can't say there was ever a day that I don't have music in my life, whether that's through like listening to something while I go run, or I have special playlists for all kinds of stuff. I have for like, it was supposed to be for walking in the woods, but when I walk in the woods, I don't want to listen to anything.
Same here. Yeah.
But I call it the walking stick playlist, and it's on my Spotify. So, it has like pagan music and stuff. But I played music. I played flute for 8 years. I have a guitar. I have a violin. I have a ukulele. I have all kinds of stuff that.
Can you play?
I can't play right now. I'm still learning. So when I have time, I try to learn here and there. I could do like Dust in the Wind, kind of in a weird, slow way, but and my flute is back home. So
Okay.
But every time I do, if I do take the time and sit down and I try to learn something, or I try to learn a specific song, when I hear it and I'm the one who made that music, I am just like overcome. I can't even describe it. I'm just like, I did that. That's cool.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So Gabriella wants to, do you also write songs or lyrics for songs?
You know, it's funny you should ask. My friend, I collaborated with him on his album. He has like a self-made, I think he plays all the instruments and just records them all. He does most of the singing, and I did backup vocals. So there's an album out there. But he's encouraging me, like, try to write a song, just like write something. The last time I wrote anything was in my angsty teenage years, so that's why I'm kind of like, I don't know. But I will give it a try, I think, in the future, like near future, hopefully.
Yeah. Again, nothing to lose. You know, it's just beautiful to do that. If there's anything about your life you'd change, is there anything about your life that you would change?
I say a lot at work, I wish I could just retire right now, because I am so anxious to just jump into the next part of my life. Like, I want to be a big part of the community. I want to go to winter gatherings and summer gatherings whenever I want. I want to write all the books and have my routine, have control over my schedule, have animals, you know, besides just the one cat. Like, I just, I like being where I'm at because I like my team right now, and it does provide me a challenge. It gets me out of my comfort zone. But man, I'm ready. I'm ready to retire. So
how many more years? 4 more years?
4 more years.
Okay, that'll fly.
Okay.
Fly.
Yes.
Geraldine says, I would say the battlefield is dangerous. I will pray every day for you, Jess, with many others on my altar. You are special. Please, love and peace, love and music, Jess. All blessings.
Thank you.
That's very nice, Geraldine. Yes. And Gabrielle says the world needs more artists. Well, indeed. So, but it's lovely to be able to come to a point in your life and you say, and you're still so young. Okay, I have 4 more years, and then.
Yep.
Brandy Bird says, when I was in the army, all I dreamt of was being able to go to the bathroom when I wanted. Does that resonate with you?
Yes, it does. So I've explained to my husband that I think my fear of things comes from my fear of not having control. So like on a roller coaster, it just goes whether you want it to or not, right? So having control over my day would just be the biggest gift, I think. You know, because it's like tomorrow night I have to go to work. I have to figure out how to get there, maybe with the car that we borrowed from a friend, and my car broke down right before this. So it's like, hopefully after everything, you know, I won't have to worry about something like that. If my car breaks down, I'll be like, well, I'll just stay home and drink my coffee and write my book, you know. Whatever, don't have to get groceries today.
Well, Ferdiet says, I'm a teacher. We dream of the same thing. So
Bless you for being a teacher. Yes.
And Liz says, your ambition sounds like mine, Jess. It was something for me to hold on to during long years of education, medical training, solidarity.
Yes.
So you are not alone. So when you think of the modern world, what is it, one concern that you have for the modern world?
Because my most, I guess I should say, like, what's nearest to me on my outside world is America, and I worry about it sometimes, especially having just rewatched Handmaid's Tale. I was like, oh gosh, like I worry where we're going. I worry about women's rights. I worry about what's going to happen to us, and I sometimes worry if America's going to end sometime soon. It's still so young, but it's not going to be forever. So I kind of worry about, are we witnessing the downfall of a society, and what can I do about that? And yeah, I keep that in the back of my mind, so I'm not constantly like going over in circles about it. It's not a whole lot I can do about it right now, but yeah,
it's a big worry, and it's a very painful time that's happening in the world. Is there anything that gives you hope about this?
I think that for all my worries, there's still a very large community that stands together. I think that we have a lot of fight in us. So I will disagree with the show of Handmaid's Tale, where, and I mean, I know they did things by force, but I feel like we would just, I mean, we will go to war to defend ourselves and defend our rights. So I'm hoping that we can rally in an organized way and figure out a way to stop people from turning this into an oppressive government or anything. You know, it's scary. It's scary, but I have hope in people and in people that rally to a common cause. So.
Yes. Talif says, I fear for this also in the UK. Everything seems to have changed so much quickly. Lisa says, keeping hope alive keeps us going together for the good. And Catherine says the same, feeling the same way. I think it's around finding points of peace together.
Yeah.
Rather than fighting for my rights, because so often fighting for my rights is at the expense of someone else's.
Yeah.
And being able to find that mid ground. Wars aren't working.
No.
They benefit the people who make money from it, but that's it. Not the people who die, and not the families who lose the people, you know, of the people who die. That we need to reach out in some other way. That I'm a pacifist. However, it's conditional. You know, if somebody came in and attacked my children, well, I'd fight back. You know,
absolutely.
Do I want to pick up a gun and go to war? My country, I don't know. Pat says, trust me, from a Northern Irish perspective, dividing your country helps no one. You can hold principles and still open the door. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Solidarity in a peaceful common cause does bring hope. That's from Jules. Yeah. So it's about reaching out. When you look at the order, for example, you know, again, it's a bit like your background. It's a melting pot of all sorts of people and traditions.
Yes.
So, you know, it's not an order full of pagans. There are pagans, there are Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, Jews, atheists, polytheists, and the whole animists and the whole lot. And about being able to, okay, what are our common values? What is it that we want? What kind of a world do we want to create? And here we have, I like to call it like a salad, not a puree, so that it allows the individual textures of the leaves, the nuts. Maybe you've meat in there, fish, cheese, whatever.
Yeah.
Salads are different. They're not a uniform thing. And that makes life very, very interesting if we can do that.
I'm probably one of the nuts.
Well, you know, so am I. And nuts are crunchy. And they're tasty. You can soak them, toast them, or, you know, have them shelled or unshelled. I mean, it's all sorts of. So, 3 things you'd like to leave behind, you know, when it's your time to pass
through the veil. I think about this a lot. I'm like, what kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? And I would hope that I can inspire others to pursue what their soul is asking them, you know, like when it comes to expression and artistic expression in whatever form that comes in. You know, for me, it's various forms. I also paint, I dance, I do all kinds of stuff. So I'm like, whatever moves you, to be able to do that without fear, you know, or despite fear, I guess. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Or maybe, you know, just keep sharing my story with others where it's like, it took me 15 years to write this rough draft, but I still did it. And you can do it faster if you just stop with the negative self-talk. I also like to understand how my mindset works in my daily life. So I hope that I can help others, you know, my friends or my community understand that as well. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but and my imposter syndrome kind of comes in, like, you're not certified. I don't think I have to be certified. I think I just want to help people be like, hey, this is what I did. This is my mindset. and
Yeah.
how do you help yourself with that? I think that's two things. And then, I mean, ultimately, if I do get to publish, I at least get to leave some books behind that people can pick up and read, and hopefully it inspires them and gives them a little bit of soul food, so to speak, just feeds them a little bit.
Beautiful. Well, Ferdy, it says nuts also contain wisdom. That's why the salmon eats them. And Pat says, you never heard of a salmon of wisdom eating kale. That's her excuse. Geraldine says she's nut butter, and Liz, almond joy here. So, and then Timey says, you never know when the time is here. So I think it's important to live and act that way. But you leave a positive, compassionate memory and meaning. Yeah. So we're coming to the end of our time, and I know it's 10 o'clock where you are.
Yes.
But before we go on, something you will not compromise on.
Something I will not compromise on. When it comes to, so maybe I'm very serious about this because I also learn like martial arts and stuff. But when it comes to like the safety of myself and others, I know I'm usually too nice and a pushover, but when it comes to that, I immediately nope. I'm throwing hands. So I will defend others and myself if someone is like, what's the word I'm looking for? Aggressive.
In the face of injustice?
Yes.
Injustice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. It feels like there's a decisive refusal of the belief that there's another way to resolve difference. No one wants to believe that peaceful resolution is possible because everyone believes that everything is a form of attack on them and violence is the only reaction. And myself, I'm a pacifist and I see everything from all sides as much as possible. I just wish that other people could see that way. I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's about being able to look at all sides.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily agree with them, but you can't read any kind of resolution if you're not willing to have a look even, So Silver Branch is listening from Arizona today, sending peace and love.
Yay.
Karen says, who's in the New Forest, keeping one's individual ideas and observations and not be swept along with social media is important. That's right. I mean, I think it's about listening without reacting. Yeah.
Yes.
So my last two questions. So Gabriella, get your guesses out. I always ask my last two questions. What is your favorite season? And what is your favorite ceremony to mark the Wheel of the Year? And Gabriella here, who's a regular, likes to bet. And her success rate it's improving, her hit rate. For a long time not being so good. So, okay, so she's answered, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So what is your favorite season and your favorite ceremony to mark the Wheel of the Year?
Oh man, I really appreciate every season I'm in, but I would say that fall is my favorite season.
Okay.
And I love to celebrate Samhain, Halloween.
Sorry, Gabriella. She said Midsummer and Lunasa.
I did have a really good Lunasa last year, but yeah.
Funny, I think, mine is whatever I'm in. So we're celebrating this weekend Imolc, so we're having our online Obod one and then our own one in here in Three Castles on Sunday. But most people say Samhain.
It's super fun.
Really,
I mean, I like Beltane too, but it's so hard to choose. But I just went with Samhain. So
I mean, I love them. I can't say, oh God, it's this one now. It's my least favorite. I don't have a least favorite. You mentioned ancestors earlier on. So Sean had guessed, Sean McCann in Canada had guessed that it was Samhain because that was the tell. So listen, it has been just a joy chatting to you, Jess, and it was lovely to meet you at the Winter Gathering. And maybe we'll see you in. Oh no, you said you're probably moving. So yes. So I love kale, Pat Booker. I love it. I really enjoy it, particularly roasted in the oven. It's delicious. Anyway, it's just such a joy talking to you. So I'll allow you say. Actually, Lisa says, I'm sorry, how to restrain the sociopathic lower brain stem actors from destroying life requires foxy thinking. Thank you both so much. I used to be called Foxy because I used to be a redhead. But anyway, so I'll let you say goodnight to everybody there.
Oh yes, yes. So thank you for being with us and for having me as well. And yeah, I hope I get to meet all of you at some point or go to another gathering. And good night to everyone.
Well, there'll be no excuse in 4 years' time. Anyway,
Yes.
in the meantime, we may have. Oh, Nimi's had kale with haggis and neeps. Lovely.
Ooh, interesting.
Let's see.
I like
Anyway,
haggis.
I do too. So I'll see you in a few minutes. We'll look at the comments. So listen, thank you all for joining me this evening. And I know there were comments and conversations that I just couldn't keep up with. So lovely to have you here as always. So we are having, like I said, our online Imulk ceremony this Saturday at 7 p.m. UK time. Hopefully you can join us then. And so we're coming up to Imulk, and also it's Lunasa in the Southern Hemisphere. And I know Charlene, I just saw her earlier, she's in New Zealand, and we have people tuning in now from the Southern Hemisphere. So blessings all to you, and until I'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Until then, Slán go fóill.